Welcome to Full Throttle Talk, the podcast where horsepower meets conversation. From supercars to classic legends, high revving tech to motorsport mayhem, we cover it all. Straight from the driver's seat, whether you're a gearhead or racer or just love the thrill of the open road, you're in the right place. Buckle up, hit the gas, and let's go full throttle into today's episode. Welcome back. It's Tim Harris, and this is, of course, your favorite weekly automotive podcast, Full Throttle Talk. And joining me this week are Paul and Dave, and we're going to be focused on a lot of fun topics today. It's not going to be a super long show, though I do appreciate all of you who do like our super long shows. But today we're going to be focusing a lot on Monterey Car Week, but I think we're going to be bringing some observations about Monterey Car Week that maybe you've not heard anywhere else. And we're also going to be talking about what you did in cars this week. I just listened to a very interesting podcast from Chris Harris and friends talking about the European automotive industry, which I'm hoping to bring up and have these guys yammer a bit about, and a lot of other fun things, whatever frankly comes to mind. So without any further delay, guys, welcome to this week's podcast.
Hey,
Hello,
I'm so
Tim.
excited.
How are
So
you?
excited, Tim.
Yes, me too.
Excited to hear about Monterey Car Week because my total influx or injection of Monterey Car Week has been just watching all my friends' internet, Instagram feed. So I've not talked to anyone who's had feet on the ground.
Well, I'll give you a little insight. The Monterey Car Week was dominated by everybody and their brother who thought that they were an influencer and who had hashtags on every damn thing you can possibly imagine, leading them back to their Insta handles. And the number of people, there were more people walking around with mini film crews than there were attendees at some of the events we went to. That's what it was like. It was honestly at some moments it was actually kind of hilarious. And I'm not criticizing. I appreciate the amplitude of the enthusiasm for the automotive space, but it was obvious. But before we get to that, so what did you do in cars this week, Dave? You first. And I know that you had some exciting upholstery things. I'm very interested to know what you've been working on, because as you guys may or may not know, Dave is the king of Sunderworks in North Carolina, arguably one of the, I think, most recognized upholstery shops for the Porsche space in certainly this part of the world. And in addition to that, he does a lot of Porsche restoration. So Dave, without any further delay.
Yeah, no worries, Tim. Hey, everybody. Hello. It's been a busy week here at Thunderworks. The car that I'm showing you behind me here, this lovely orange SC that's been previously wide-bodied and flared. I don't know. You guys, Paul, you probably are aware of this. You're familiar with the Porsche Restoration Challenge that the dealers do around the country.
Sure.
Okay, for the last few years, we've worked with probably 4 different dealers that send their stuff down to us. We've done soft window Targas, we've done turbos, we've done all kinds of upholstery. We did a job last year for the fine folks up at Porsche of Charlottesville, and they actually won their particular class, which was there's 3 different classes for this restoration challenge. And the upside for this, there's probably, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 of the dealers that participate nationwide. If they win, they get an additional allocation of a high-end car. So it's important for them because they want to get these cars, and that's why they continue to enter. This car behind me is the Porsche of
Hold on a second.
Charlottesville.
Hold on a second, Dave. I always wondered why they throw so much money. And I've even asked some of them before, like, okay, this is really cool. It brands your dealership as being, like a car person's dealer, Porsche dealership. But I always felt that there was more into it. And I mean, we don't have Casey here to talk about it, but an extra allocation of a GT3RS or an ST, that's got to be, do you think that extra allocation, the revenue from that outweighs the cost to do the build?
No
I
way.
do, but here's what I think. Well, the reason is because almost every one of these builds is for a customer who's actually paying for the work.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't know that either.
The cars are either going to get sold off after the event, or like this particular car is for a customer.
Well,
So
I would say there's one exception to that. That's Bo Bachman with Santa Clarita Porsche.
that's
I don't
very
think
possible.
I don't think he ever wants to sell anything.
But you know, to Dave's point though, we were at Renworks. Is it Ren? I always get all the.
No, Ren Sport Reunion, I think,
Thank
2 years
you,
ago,
Rensport.
probably.
Okay,
Yeah.
Rensport reunion. So we went there and I looked at and I took pictures. I'll put them on Instagram of all of those restoration challenge cars. And there were enormous, I don't even remember the total number, but there were at least a dozen. But get this, somebody did a full restoration. One of the dealerships did a full restoration on a 928, a
I
928.
saw that.
That is a ballsy move. If talk about an expensive restoration. But the other
There,
cars, we looked at all of them. They're really beautiful. Honestly,
yeah.
it's
I mean, they
spectacular.
do a great job. And there's an individualization class, which is what this car is. So this is a
Mm.
79, I think it's a 79 SC. And we have gotten probably a little deeper in this than I thought. And now we're coming to crunch time because the first judging for these cars is coming up early next month. And for the Southeast region, it's in Indianapolis, I believe. So we've been working with the fine folks up there in Charlottesville, and this is a safari build that they're doing. So
Oh man.
yeah, the car started life, and you can see there we are putting on a roof rack and a light bar on the top of the car. We're about to fit wheels on it. We also sprayed rhino lining on the inside of the bottom of this, so you can see that there. If I get my fat head out of the way, um, in an odd color, and I think we've ultimately chosen to move on beyond this. We're going to put some square weave carpeting in this. I think the owner and the person specking the build decided he wanted a rough and ready sort of car, but there's this rough and ready, and then there's a car that can actually win one of these things. So rough and ready might be very functional, might be lightweight, might be taking as much weight out of the car as possible, but it's got to look and present well. And so we've decided we're going to do really tight German square weave carpeting in this. And then we're putting in some what I call Sunder CSC seats, which are very similar in appearance to a Recaro Sportster CS, but one that we're sourcing ourselves. I don't have a picture of that right now, but I will maybe for next time around. But we're jamming on this thing to get it done. It has been a very, very busy week. This is getting a full interior, and it should be a pretty cool build. I think they've worked a little bit with Lee Keen on this too, in terms of specking out the suspension that's being installed underneath it. Uh, cool orange color. By the time I think everyone's kind of set up with it and it goes back up to them for the finishing touches, it's going to be a neat little car. So we'll see how it does in the event.
Well, definitely
That's
put
been my week.
yeah, post more pictures on your Instagram as we
Well,
as you finish that because that looks what orange is that?
Continental.
Yeah, it looked like Continental Orange to me.
You
Yeah,
know, it's
beautiful.
funny with and I have a and Tim like 993s, convertibles, and all my other weird fetish hates I have. I have a weird thing about orange. Tangerine is so overdone, which drives me nuts because Porsche has amazing oranges. And when someone says I'm painting my car tangerine, my back date, it just says one thing to me. I'm lazy and I have not a creative bone in my soul. And Continental Orange is really bitchin'.
Hold on, hold on. It doesn't just say to you that they like orange.
No, it says that I'm lazy and someone told me tangerine orange is the color to do because everyone's done it and it's just lemmings jumping off a cliff. But when you look at the palette of oranges Porsche has, they have some amazing oranges. Like first of all, SCs, there's some great colors with SCs that always get overlooked. Arrow blue, one of my favorite colors.
Hmm.
Continental orange, another great color. Talbot yellow, another great color. And for whatever reason, everyone just goes, oh, SC colors. And there's some great ones that no one ever ordered that I'm like, why don't you paint it that? Another really cool trick, and I wish I had the photo ready. We did one of our back date. This is in 2008, 9, right around when I met you, Tim. It was a back date 911 SC where we were wanted to do a Jägermeister livery. We didn't want to do brown. We were going to do blue. We wanted to do a different orange. And by the way, Jägermeister orange is really good, a good paint color to use. So we used 997 GT3 RS orange, which is just called orange. And it's a really good orange. Like, so anyway, off my high horse, that looks like Continental orange to me, which I think is a great color because if it was tangerine with our cameras right now, you would swear that car was almost red.
Hey, Paul, I
Yeah,
thought you were
this
supposed I thought you were supposed to be drugged up a little bit dopey. That did not sound dopey or drugged up whatsoever. Your brain is working, I think, 100%.
No, actually, in all seriousness, I have personally been cutting down the pain meds and dealing with more pain because I want to think.
Yeah. In case you guys don't know it, Paul is actually in the hospital. Well, actually, he's not in the hospital. He's in PT recovering. There you go. Look at his glamorous background. Okay, recovering from a major operation that worked out as I think, honestly, Paul, as good as it possibly could have.
Oh, you haven't seen the scar yet.
Oh, oh, I was thinking about that. When it comes to that scar, and somebody asked you about it, and and you feel tempted to show off this gnarly scar, are you going to tell them
No.
it was from a procedure and get into some long diatribe about all the, proper names for the procedure, or are you gonna just make up something fun like it was a shark bite?
Oh, I would make up something fun. It wouldn't be a shark bite. It would be like I was in a pro-am golf tournament with Joachim Moss, and he shoved the golf club into my hip because I said him that Jackie Ix was a better driver or something.
Okay, there you go. See what I'm saying? No IQ downtime for Mr. Kramer.
Yeah.
Okay, well, so as far as now that you're off your orange soapbox, what have you done in the past week that you would like to talk about, given the fact you've been in the hospital?
I haven't done a lot outside of here. Literally, I'm in the hospital. There's a patio. I go downstairs. I am coordinating a couple new cars coming in, which I'm excited. The background one's a 68 912 in Aga blue with a red interior and a Benton built motor, about a 225 horsepower at the wheels horsepower 912 motor. Older paint job, color change, not numbers matching, but a really very, very fun, tidy hot rod. I, s- and this is one of the things that I know it's good for my business and I get frustrated and I don't know why I shouldn't be frustrated, but I sell these cars. Like the list of people I post on Instagram, this is coming. It got shipped from our client in Northern Nevada. And everyone's like, ooh, I want that. Tell me more about it. Can I put a deposit on it? And in the case when I sold this a few years ago, that's exactly what happened with that owner. I shipped the car to him. He's a wonderful guy. I've known him for 20 years. The silver 73 RS story I posted on Instagram was I sold to him and he kept it for 16 years. He's had this car for 3 years. He's put 700 miles on it and he's over it. And I'm grateful. I get the car back. I get to sell it, pay for, keep the roof over our head and keep auto kennel going. But there's a part of me that gets bitter, like, why didn't he like it? Why didn't he drive it more? Why didn't he find his moment with the car? And by the way, this isn't like this unique example. This is epidemic. And I would say in the last 5 years, far more epidemic. And it's not just me. I was reading a bring a trailer ad for a 996 GT3 that sold yesterday. I don't know if you saw that red one. The guy bought it like 3 years ago on Bring a Trailer, put a lot of money, bought it hammered for 110, put, from what I can calculate, 20 grand into it, drove 500 miles, and it just sold yesterday for 115. And it's
Paul,
like
do you find that more with air-cooled cars or with newer stuff?
everything.
Just across the board.
Anything that's not a daily driver, anything that's a fun toy. And I don't know if it's
Well,
coming from.
you've talked about this before, Paul, and you're getting into a little bit of a philosophical thing, and it's kind of fascinating for me to think about why you're maybe more motivated to talk about this now, given your recent, challenges health wise. But seriously, it's an interesting perspective. And Dave asked you a question with regards to why you think that is. And let's actually drill down and leverage the fact that you're on pain meds so you can be extra truthy with your actual opinion. So why, right? So why do you think people buy these things and don't drive them?
Part of it is, I think, because this epidemic to me is more within the last 5 years, and I think it's the predominance of social media, that like television ads saying, you'll be cool if you smoke these cigarettes, and so you should, or you'll get the women if you drive this car. So I think
You're describing what we saw in Monterey to a freaking T right now, and that's what you're. This is perfect. I'm glad I asked that question because that is what was going on in Monterey. Continue. Sorry.
yeah, so I think it's just the social aspect of your life will be better. You should experience this, and the number of times um, I have to really walk my clients through because they'll say, they're coming from a 992 Carrera S PDK and they buy their first G body. They've never owned anything 10 years old, let alone 30, 40 years old. And their question to me is, how is this to maintain? And I'm like, compared to that new thing, it's a lot. It's you know, we all know. Like
Sure.
like owning a vintage car takes, if you can't enjoy or at least deal with the maintenance part of it and understand it, it's just not for you. I mean, it's hard to explain it. This isn't a CPO buying experience. This isn't just, hey, I throw oil at it when a light comes on. This is, you drive it, you take notes. Things are different. Every time you drive it, it does something different, good and bad. You make notes of the bad stuff, and then you determine how bad that bad is. Is that bad enough to go see the mechanic now, or can I wait till I have more bad stuff? Right? And then you
I,
fix it and you repeat it.
yep.
Well, that's what Jerry said. It's what Seinfeld says. I mean, that's part of the ownership experience. And if you can't really, if you don't enjoy getting to know people like Paul and Dave, if you don't enjoy having an expanded friend group, not, and maybe some cases involuntary, the tow guy, then it's probably a bad idea for you to pursue these things. You have to, but there is a bifurcation that's happening, and a big noticeable one, again, that's teeing us up for the Monterey conversation, amongst the guys that are migrating towards these cars as, I don't even know what this, there's all these dumb words, but like status symbol, flex, whatever, to versus where it was 10 or 15 years ago when it was dominated by, the traditional car enthusiast guys. And those two would never meet. There was no newer generation Instagram influencer types at Pebble in particular, but certainly Monterey on a whole, maybe not even 10 years ago. But now I have to say, it's definitely dominated. And I don't think anyone could even say that that wasn't true, especially given some of the hijinks that were happening amongst the younger generation, frankly. Sorry.
No, no,
Let
and
me let me
I
let me chime in.
go ahead.
I was just going to chime in just on my experience because I've had three clients, very similar situations, Paul, over the last few months, including one that just finished with an absolutely gorgeous car that we spent the better part of 2 years building, and he has now had it in his possession for maybe 90 days. Six, not even probably after we finished it. He came into my office today and he's like, you know what? I think I want to sell this thing. And I'm like, are you kidding me? This car is absolutely gorgeous. It's fantastic. My take on it is these guys, there's this aura of air cooled, and they are coming from modern Porsches, you know, and all these clients, the same thing. They all have modern Porsches, but then they get told they should have an air cooled. They get into that air cooled, and it's not the experience they thought. It's not the luxury. It's not the stability. It's not the confidence that you would normally have in driving a modern car. They have their fun with it for a short period of time, and then it's boom. Then they want to be out and move on to the next thing, and maybe it's buying another modern car.
Yep.
But I've had three customers, identical situation over the last, and the profile's probably that 45 to 55-year-old guy that does it.
Well,
Yeah.
also there's a romanticism with buying old cars. And if your wife doesn't like it and your kids don't want to rock and roll in it because it doesn't have Wi-Fi built into it, then you're sitting there looking at it as but I'll say this is kind of fascinating. Porsche, can you guys think of another manufacturer that has so dutifully paid homage? Am I saying it wrong? I need more
You
Homage,
coffee.
got it
homage,
right.
Okay, I
homage.
got it right. Sorry. To their back catalog as Porsche. Nobody has. You can still get into a modern Porsche, and I don't know what percent of the experience is similar to driving a vintage one, but it's not that different, especially if you're willing to spend the beans and get a GT product. That's it. Again, that was something that I thought a lot about. I thought, well, what is it about the old cars that I personally like, because I've got a lot of them, and versus some of these newer ones, and it is the connection to the car. And then I got to thinking, what other modern cars are there where you actually feel that level of connectiveness? And the list is really freaking short. It's the modern manual shift GT products, and some of the Porsche products, a Miata, frankly. And beyond that, I really couldn't figure out anything. So if you have a connection to the older feel of those older cars for whatever reason, and you go and jump in a newer car, a newer Porsche, you can that there's a connection there that you can actually feel. But I don't get that. Like if you jump into an 80s BMW and jump into a new BMW, they don't feel the same. You know, same goes with all these products. They're just completely different. But that's the one thing I think, again, another observation we'll talk about when we get to Monterey. The Porsche is doing better than anybody else. And I personally, what I was observing is Porsche is about to go to a more than I ever would have imagined. Porsche is about to go to a different level with all aspects of not just marketing but their clientele. And maybe this I'll share this. My thing in Car Week, or my thing I did in cars, is I bought a 54 Triumph TR2 off Bring a Trailer. And if you guys want to see it,
Wait,
unfortunately I don't have.
so in my drug period, I saw you guys discussing this. I thought it was a ruse. I had no idea you actually bought it.
Yeah, well, I mean, you would think that because it's not a 911 and you're very
What was the
myopic.
trigger though, Tim? Wasn't it something harkening back to your
Yeah, yeah,
prom or
okay.
something like
Well,
that?
Your prom, yeah.
no, it was more than that. So when I was growing up, my dad always seemed to have some cool little British sports car, and the Triumphs are the ones that kept on, you know, showing up in our lives. And my dad didn't never really had enough money to buy a really nice one. He eventually bought a really nice TR3B, so we always got to restoring them. And so he and I restored, you know, one or two of these, I think maybe three. And you'd think that experience alone would make me hate Triumphs, but finally he ended up with a really nice TR3B, and that was the one that Julie and I went to all of our homecomings and proms in. But going back even before that, I have this picture of my dad in the 19, my mom thinks it was late 50s or early 60s, where he was fresh out of the army and he was working for one of the aerospace companies, and actually was a designer back before they had CAD, that when they do 3D renderings, they did them all by drawing them. I don't know if you guys have ever seen anything like that, but that's what he did. So he got hired by, I forget which aerospace industry it was, and he was living in what company it was. He was living in Indianapolis, so he had to drive his BRG TR2 all the way out to California to work for, I think it was Northrop Grumman or something. And yeah, so I have this picture that of him in this TR wearing this green flight jacket from the Army. And you know, you could barely tell it's BRG, but I know it was, and with these palm trees as after he'd driven it all the way out west. And I showed my mom, that to her, that's a car that he drove when they met, and the whole thing. He taught her to drive on the car. And so there was this really beautiful video that the guy who was selling the car on behalf of the seller put on Bring a Trailer. I thought it was beautiful. So I started to show it to my mom, and she started to cry and all the things. And I had to tell her 3 times, Mom, we just bought that car. And she wasn't listening. She was watching the video. She's 85, you know. She was watching the video so intensely, remembering these experiences with my dad. He passed away, you know, 19 years ago. Anyway, so and then I had to finally say, Mom, we just bought that car. And then she literally started to cheer. So there you go.
But going back to what we were talking about, the nostalgia part, like that cars is in all measures a wretched car compared to today's cars.
For
It's
sure.
it's so it makes a 356 seem like
It's
the
a luxury.
Concorde. Yeah,
No,
it
for
is
sure. Yeah,
so archaic.
100%.
But
Where's the
if
picture? You
your
said you were going to show us
passion,
a picture, Tim.
your
I didn't load them, unfortunately, because we did this kind of if you go to Bring a Trailer, and you'd be
I'll
doing
see
me
if
a
I can
favor,
pull it
pull
up.
up.
You
look,
Go to
guys
Bring
keep
a
going.
Trailer. Just
but
It's a great,
this is what
good
I
looking
think, going
car. I
back
mean,
to
the
what
car looks nicely restored.
these
it
car
well, and not
buyers.
only that, forgive me, Paul. Not
No,
only that, but he has the owner of this car, Mike, has, I think it was 27 different first places and second places, different concours. So the car's been fully vetted as being really, you know. But yes, Paul, your point is that's the reason that some people buy cars, because they have this emotional I mean, how many miles will I put in that thing? And the time we own it, it'll be measured in 3 digits, not four, for sure. But
yeah, yeah.
still, yeah.
But the thing is, you're going to have an experience. You're going to relive an experience. I
Yep.
think, I don't know if it's possible, but maybe your mom will somehow in some way get to
She will. I might
yeah,
take her on a drive in the fall leaves in North
yeah.
Carolina and the whole thing.
Please put cameras in the car,
I will.
because
But Paul, listen,
and not even not something to share, but you know, there'll come a point where our parents are gone, and
I
those
know
videos of our parents having, as they get older, there's less things that supremely make them happy.
that was one of them for my mom.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
know, Honestly, I don't want to talk about it anymore. I'm getting emotional, but I do have, I am, but I have, and I know exactly where it is. That same flight jacket my dad was wearing, and he had a blue Triumph patch that he had, sewn on it, and I still have it. So
I
it's,
wear it.
you know, but isn't that incredible though? The whole
It
thing, the
is.
whole
It
arc,
is.
you know?
And
Yeah,
that is why, going back to it, one of the several reasons you should buy a car. And when you think, oh, it doesn't fit my lifestyle, I'm tired of it, just keep it one more year or one more month. And do one more drive. Like do one more before you think you should sell it because you're not using enough, whatever. Do one more thing with your car because I think that might extend the runway a little bit longer. And I appreciate the revolving door business, but I kind of want my clients to get, I see them get these cars and they never have that experience, whether it's taking your mom in the car or,
you got it.
oh,
That's
there
it,
you
Dave.
There
go.
it is.
Yeah. If
Yeah.
they, or they go on a rally or they just do an afternoon drive or they take their kid out for like I just feel they're robbing themselves. All they do is call me and complain that, oh, the oil light came on or the window isn't working quite right or I can't find the owner's manual and they just never freaking have an experience. And I wish they would do that.
Yeah, I agree. And it's, there's something about cars that a good car and not driving in LA. Oh my God, if I never drive in LA again, holy crap. How do you people put up with that crap? Seriously, it is freaking bonkers.
It,
It just
I
such garbage.
I am, it's so strategic how I do it. Like this morning's Friday, I would normally be going to Good Vibes Breakfast Club, but I live 2 miles from my shop. I would be leaving at 6 a.m., no traffic, have a mountain drive. I leave there at 11 and I have an hour and a half of light traffic and I get back and it's like this such a narrow window I got to hit just to make me not want to kill myself. But yeah, you're right. It sucks.
It's
Pete,
terrible. And it's not just, I don't know what I'm not a complainer by nature, but fortunately, when we were in for Car Week, we did, thanks for your tip, Paul, rent a 992 Cabriolet. And this thing had almost 80,000 miles on it. It was a 2020. And
geez.
I have to say, that was a freaking, despite the red on red on red on red on red combination, that car was phenomenal.
Yeah.
It just was with 80,000 miles. All the stuff worked. The car was solid, had one little creak that was somewhere, didn't even care. But I truly thought for 80,000 miles, that car was, if it had been thoroughly detailed, that car was felt like had less than 20 on it. What a phenomenal car.
Yep.
Yeah, despite the color. Yes. And so Dave has found it. So if you're watching us on YouTube, there's pictures of it. But if you skip through it, the car, was a hot rod TR, if you can even think of that. But in the 50s, I think in the early 60s, Triumph raced a series of cars in Le Mans and won their class. And that's what that car reminded me of. So in any event, that's what I did in cars this week, besides trying to make it back from Car Week, which ended up taking 2 days.
Yeah.
All right, so let's pivot. Let's talk about Car Week. And I know you guys were watching a lot of things on YouTube and watching a lot of different videos and listening to pods. And I'll start out by saying this. So we have gone, Julie and I were trying to add it up how many times. So let's just leave it at probably 12 or 15 times. And we've always tried to have different experiences. It's easy to get into the same pattern of things. You're going to go to this event on this day, this event on this day. And this year, we kind of did it Kramer style, where we were a little bit more casual. We were trying to avoid a little bit more of the pomp and circumstance type things. But guess what? The pomp and circumstance found us, because there was a discernible, I'll call it, vibe shift that was going on that I felt building over the last few years, but this year it was obvious. And I'll give you for example, it's dominated by younger people for sure, like never before, which is great. None of these are criticisms and complaints. And the official uniform was a black hoodie, Crocs, and what looked like pajama bottoms, walking around with some kind of influencer type camera or whatnot. That was what I should have worn, because then I would have fit in perfectly. There were just mountains and mountains of people driving around, and really nice, younger people. Again, I thought it was great. It's expansion of the car hobby that were Instagram, Instagram hashtags. A lot of people doing a lot of just different videoing. We had gone to a preview at several of the auctions, and there were more people there that were doing influencer type things. And there were people like Julie and I were there just to preview cars. So it was pretty incredible. I'm not criticizing. I'm just saying that's what I noticed. I'll say from the auction side of things, we went to pretty much all the auctions. And RM was way down on merch. They didn't have the second floor like they normally do. They're the nature of the auction, if that's because a lot of their former employees.
Tim.
There, he's
There,
back.
yeah,
Right?
you said the second floor was they didn't have, and then something about the employees, and then it cut off, Tim.
Yeah. Okay. Sorry. I see. Hold on. Give me a 2 seconds. Hold on a second. So that was what I was noticing is that a lot of the auctions themselves, Broad Arrow had a lot of good inventory, but I was hearing different people say that a lot of the Broad Arrow stuff wasn't selling, though I thought Broad Arrow's reserves were probably really good. Overall, the best auction in terms of merchandise, in terms of experience, was Gooding. And Gooding had just stellar. Did you guys see that old Vanagon that they had? It was like that thing had mold on it. I mean, I wasn't quite getting why that was there, but it was it wasn't like a
Tina.
really nice Vanagon. What the hell was it doing there? But I have an old Vanagon too, so I'm all for Vanagons being on a Gooding auction. And it's so funny to think about because it's so hard to get a car with Gooding for Car Week. And here was some crusty old Vanagon that was sitting there on display with a ton of miles too. Anyway,
Was there
used
anything
car lot stuff.
special? Anything special about it?
No, I'm telling you, it needed completely restored. It had faded like 3 shades of paint. There was mold in the pop-up thing. The guy who was trying to wipe it down, he and I just sort of laughed at each other. It's like, what the hell are you dusting this thing for, kind of thing. In any event,
You're disrupting the patina of the whole car. Exactly. Be
exactly,
careful there.
you're knocking the paint off, son. That's expensive. Those are expensive rust bubbles that um, the older stuff wasn't selling or wasn't selling. It was selling for far less. Again, if we went to the auctions and I was watching some of these, um, older Ferraris and whatnot, Jaguars and things like that. I had an interesting conversation with Cam Ingram about, 350. I was thinking about, a 356 GS, a 4 cam. And I've watched those cars for more than a dozen years. And those went from what, $1 million. And now Cam was telling me you can get a really nice one for like 400 grand. So the market for the older stuff has dropped like a rock is what I haven't heard anyone else saying it as directly as I am, but those are my observations.
Did
A lot of
he?
that stuff.
Did Cam had you made some comment in our chat here about your conversation with Cam? Did he feel like his business has really been hurt by all that drop? I mean,
No, he was
uh,
actually, I met with him at Pebble Beach. He was he was displaying a gorgeous 4 cam Speedster, the last one
yeah,
made next to a friend of ours that was also, they're showing a D-type. They're both competing, a D-type that was raced by Carroll Shelby in period. But we'll have Jeremy on the podcast. He's got an amazing story to tell. But yeah, I got to talking with Cam and I heard him telling other people that he's just been crazy busy. But I think it's a lot of different things. It's like Paul's business, frankly, in your business, you get to the point where you have so many clients that they just come back to you for more projects and updates and just the rest of it. I think the part that's where Cam is. He's just so busy servicing some of his customers that it's probably his business has grown. His reputation is certainly stellar, especially
oh,
for that
without a
older
doubt.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
I don't think he would have necessarily told me if in any way if there was any sort of, downward momentum in his business from the resellability of some of those cars. I don't think that would have been a conversation we would have had. Do you guys have an opinion on that? I mean, Paul or Dave, do you guys
I
have you?
I certainly see it.
Yeah,
I
go
mean,
ahead.
I see it in the 356 market for sure. I've got one on consignment right now that's a very nice restoration. And I felt we've priced it fairly and we just haven't gotten any bites on it in the least. And the guy I think is going to kind of pull it back from me now at this point because he just wants the money and rightly so. But I think the market is off definitely a little bit.
Let me, Paul, let me just share this one last thing. I wrote this down is that you could predict pretty much if you were watching the markets, like everyone is saying 90s cars are going to be hot because the millennials are going to want to buy the cars they wanted when they were kids. And you could go back to Generation X with the 80s cars and on back and on back and on back. If you were to try to predict what generation of cars are going to be even bigger than big, it's the 90s cars. And that's what I was seeing a lot of there that were the 90s cars. And the drop off and the things that aren't in that, I think that age range of cars is obvious. So it's a great time to be buying, for example, a really nice 73 RS or something like that. That was, I guess, in conclusion, what I was observing.
No, what you saw and what Dave's experienced, I've experienced a little bit of that too. 356s, if it's a hot rod, if it's obviously there's the Emery, which is its own thing, but if it's a coupe with a Will Hoyt motor, it'll blow the socks off because that appeals to a millennial. If it is a 61B coupe in ivory with like a 20-year-old restoration, it's a good driver, no one cares. And that is a great car. And that is granted, that car, if it's decent, it's going to be 70, $80,000. That should be the price. And it shouldn't be less, but there's just, fewer buyers in the room,
Right.
where there would have been, maybe 20 buyers. Now there's 4 buyers. So
Probably a $60,000 car now, right? I
yeah.
Well,
mean,
And
and
to move it.
the other thing is that the Ferrari stuff. You guys know I pay attention. I'm the only, you guys never care when I talk about Ferraris,
What?
especially Paul.
Who?
Exactly. But there were a lot of epic, collections, Ralph Lauren level collections of classic Ferraris that are being liquidated, and they were being liquidated slowly. And now they're being liquidated quicker because I think people some of these sellers are worried about catching a falling knife with regards to some of those values. So that's the other thing I was able to eavesdrop on and have direct conversations. A lot of these 250 series Ferraris, which were going for just enormous amounts of money. And we should mention chandelier bidding too. The amount of chandelier bidding I saw was just like nothing I've ever seen before. And you could pretty much tell. And what chandelier bidding is, we talked about this in the podcast a long time ago, is where the auctioneer is like, will act like he's getting bids. He'll say, say the car is 50,000, starting at 50,000. I have 50,000. I have 75,000. I have 100,000. There weren't real bids there. He's just trying to bid it up to the seller's low number until he gets a reasonably acceptable bid, and then he's going to accept it. And obviously, then they'll sell on the low end of the reserve, unless it's a no reserve. But there was a lot of that going on, and a lot of people still don't know chandelier bidding is legal, which is incredible.
yeah, which on like, that's like shill betting on an auction,
Yes.
on an online auction. Yeah, it's
Mhm.
crazy. Just a side note on that, sitting in a hospital bed, looking at everything through Instagram and podcasts, one of the things I found interesting is all the social media content was the glitzy stuff, from the street burnouts to the crashes,
Yep.
police shit, to the quail, to Gooding. It was all the stuff that was just very glammy. And the only content I got on the track, the Laguna Seca track, which to me has always been one of the highlights for me, was my nerdiest of nerd car friends. Magnus was there and posting stuff, and all my other car dorks that I do rallies with were at the track at least one day and posting content and whatever. They had a beautiful, obviously vintage F1 cars running. They had all of the Can-Am cars from all kinds of series running that then drove over to the Quail. So I kind of saw this shift where no one outside of my friends gave two squats about the track, which is these beautiful special cars actually moving at speed. And just quick note, my favorite YouTuber, social media, whatever the content clip. These guys get pulled over by a cop because they're doing the influencer filming from like a minivan. Did you see that clip?
I haven't
No.
seen
Probably.
that.
So the cop is, these two guys are sitting in the back seat, and the cops, by the way, if you were in a van or a vehicle not properly secured by legal, you had to have like whatever the vehicle legally came with to secure you. And if you didn't have like rear facing seat with seat belts, like an old Mercedes wagon, you had some other harness. No matter how legal that was, you had to have a permit that you were allowed to use it in that situation. So he pulls over these guys. I don't know what minivan they were in. They never really showed. It was some car minivan. Cop was so anxious because he sees these two guys squirming around the back with the tailgate open, taking photos. He's like, I nailed these guys. And these guys figured out the newest car that was minivan like, that had rear facing seats with 3-point belts. and it blew the cop's mind. The cop was like, dude, you got me. You got me. I'll
No
find the
kidding.
clip and send it. It was so
Tesla.
Yeah.
funny. It wasn't a Tesla. It wasn't like Chrysler
God, what's got
Sebring,
rear facing seats now? I don't even know
but
if
it was a
anything's got
modern
rear
Model
facing.
car
X. It
with
was an
rear
option.
facing. It was a
Yeah.
rear facing seat with 3-point belts, and they would move around in them, which you can do, but they never hung out. And apparently, having the lift open is, so long as you have a red flag hanging on it showing this is the limit of the car, is
My
kind of
lumbar.
legal.
But Paul, you're touching on, this is the other thing I'm trying to express without sounding like I'm complaining,
Yeah.
is the cops were so overbearing and
Yep.
pulling everyone over for anything. We were staying in Carmel by the Sea, and we were staying at this little hotel at the very top of Carmel by the Sea, and we were watching the cops literally will chase down anybody for anything, and they're just camped out right at that little four-way, and they're chasing people down their little e-bikes, going left, right, and center, and causing even more commotion of all these people and the traffic just stopping for miles. It was crazy. The hotels, now I'm bitching, the hotel that we normally stay at,
Wait,
and we,
wait. When does complaining become bitching?
I'm
I
learning
know.
from you. So,
Oh.
but okay, when you talk about 993s, okay, so I'm complaining, bitching. All right, so this hotel we stay at, which we will not stay at again, you morons for doing this. We show up, and it's not a very big hotel. They have rented out almost all their parking spots to the one of these electric car companies, and so they had these stupid green cones that took up like 90% of the parking spots. And you should have heard the guests that were paying users rates to stay there because it was car week screaming at the people when they go to check in and say you can't park here because all the parking is for VIPs. That's what they were saying.
Oh my gosh.
So anyway,
That
that's car
I,
week.
I mean, there is a part of me that truly, truly missed Car Week and a lot of aspects of it and really, really wanted to go. And then when I hear that, the one thing, and I wish I would have had more stuff to share with it. The one thing, and I don't know if you guys picked, I don't know if Tim, you saw it there. Did you see anything with Overcrest and Sports Car Vacation Land? Did that ring a bell at all while you were
I mean,
there?
it probably just all blended because there was so much going on constantly.
So, and I think this is the glimmering hope. Overcrest guys, they have a podcast. They do rallies. I've done them with them before. They're based out of Minnesota. Great
They're
guys,
great.
really,
Yep.
really cool guys. And their ethos, they're younger than us. They're by a generation. Their ethos is everything we talk about, which is, take a drive, enjoy the car, sports
Yep.
car, everything. And so they kind of came into Car Week, and it feels like for the first time they've reinvented Car Week. They found some cool, mysterious lot of property on a vineyard and built this whole. The best way to describe it is like Burning Man meets Laguna Arts Festival meets some kind of car get together, like, snap your finger. They had art exhibits going on. A guy hung his 911, a famous artist, Felix, hung his 911, was painting it, hanging upside down or vertical. They had set up hail bales. Petrolicious, the new version of Petrolicious, had movies, really cool movies they were showing. People were camping there. And it was this whole kind of cool vibe that was, in my opinion, what this car, it's like they took Car Week back to the days when they raced in Pebble Beach.
But
That's what it
Paul, that's what it was like. That's what it was like
Yes.
10 or 12 years ago. And now it's not. Now it's red ropes. Now it's charging, everyone's having to pay a ridiculous amount of money. We haven't even talked about the quail yet. You
Well,
know,
and I
if
put this picture up there when you're ready to talk about the quail because I have some interesting thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, and Matt Farah talked about this on his podcast. And Matt's, he's a professional automotive journalist, so he's, I think, a little bit more tethered to trying to say things that are maybe going to be received a little bit more warmly by the automotive industry than, say, for example, I am. But at Quail, well,
So much for that
the
press pass.
automotive industry needs to be critical because there's a shift that's happening. And if they want to leave all of us true-blooded enthusiasts along the side of the road and they want to catch the glitz and glam crowd, and they want to chase that money, go for it. But I'm just saying they're going to open up the door for old classic cars, and that's going to be an industry that is going to take off like never before. Dave, you're going to have more upholstery jobs you know what to do with. But at Quail, okay, so what did you guys think about all the never ending launches of hyper $1 million plus cars? I don't even know how many there were. Like the new entry level, just to have anything. You can take an, I was joking. Someone needs to come up with a hot rod resto mod reimagined freaking Yugo. You guys remember Yugos?
Oh
Of
yeah.
course.
I mean, I promise you, if someone did that and they did all this fancy ass crap and they took it to the quail and they're going to make a limited run of 25, I guarantee you they'd sell all
But
25 for $1 million.
Tim, this would be so much fun. Imagine if Full Throttle Talk came up with this way to get into the quail and it was all fake. But we came off as so real. We took a Yugo or a Lada or something that's just an absolute or ooh, a Renault Fuego. And we're gonna make and we can just do something, Dave, we're gonna need you a little bit to not spend too much time, but just enough time to make it just look good. We'll velvet rope the thing like 30 feet out. You can't even get near this thing. One to protect ourselves, one to add a little bit of elevation.
And for they can't, so they can't smell it.
They can't smell it. They can't smell the paint drying. They can't really look inside. We'll take some really cool seats Dave's done. We'll set it outside, all the options you could do. And we can come across as this new brand that we're reinventing the Renault Fuego that never got the love it deserved. And, we'll call it new, like, Muy Fuego or
But
something.
they would buy it. I promise
And,
you.
and then it will say like 350,000 all in. That's max. You could do whatever you want and see
No,
how many
son, you
orders.
won't sell for 350 grand. That's too cheap.
That's
Oh,
too cheap.
That's too
should we be
cheap.
like 999,990?
No, you're missing it here. It's got to be 1.35 million to start, and
Yeah.
you got to wait in line. And we're building 20. We've already got spots for 25. You're going to go on the wait list, and maybe if somebody drops off, that's how they
I
were
mean,
selling
there's a
everything.
part of me that I don't know how I could do this, but it would be kind of fun, wouldn't it? Wouldn't that be fun to
I would love to do
just
that.
to
That'd be
just
awesome.
to debunk quail, have all these influencers propelling this whole thing, have responsible journalists going, "Hey, I don't like it, but if shit
They
sells."
wouldn't though. They wouldn't. They wouldn't say I don't like it. You tell me. Okay, we're really going to get okay. Hopefully you guys aren't disliking the direction I'm going here. Because when I was talking to journalists, and I'm not going to mention any names, and I know quite a few of them now, when I was talking to these professional journalists, the shit talking they were doing about the freaking cars, especially all these fancy ones, the things that they were saying about the market, the cars, the whole 9 yards, and then what they would say when they were on camera and they're writing their articles, completely different things. And I don't know why I know why, because if you are getting invited to Ferrari's VIP, exactly, Paul, money, when you're getting flown to Maranello and they're just doing the whole rollout thing, and you love that experience and you're getting your butt kissed and you feel like a special blah, 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 you're not going to say anything that's going to burn a bridge that doesn't get you invited back again.
Yep.
And so there's a little bit of I don't know what you want to call it, but from a car nerd perspective,
Ass kissing.
it's
Yep.
well, it's almost like they're being, I don't want to say it because they'll be all be pissed at me, but you guys can draw your own conclusions. If you're being paid to have it's not a direct, say this and we'll give you this type of deal, but it's not that far away from it.
Well, but Ferrari has very, very notably, blacklisted journalists who've said their mind, and it took years for them
They're
to.
all doing it now, Paul.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing. And these guys they're not, I don't know. Again, I don't want
So,
to sound
so,
like,
so just to change that, so you went to the Quail, right, Tim?
yeah,
Okay. Did you see this car? The
yes.
Roof
Okay,
rodeo.
just uh, cool car. What did you think of the paint scheme? What did you think of them bringing this car there?
Honestly, Roof is the only holdout in my heart for a true manufacturer,
I
and it's
agree.
because they're the only ones that I have any real lasting passion for at this point amongst the guys who build cars like this. That's what I thought.
So here's the cool thing about that. In June, when my dad and I did our trip to Germany, that is that car.
Oh, wow.
It is
No
here.
kidding. Wow. They wrapped that up quick.
That was
That's
That
incredible.
amazing.
was that was middle of June. So we go into the paint shop. And by the way, Dave, Roof, big manufacturer. This is the entirety of the paint shop. If you went to my to this side, there
Yep.
is a paint booth big enough for a car and then to hang all the parts, like the doors and stuff. So you can picture like a 1.5 car depth garage. It's
25,
not,
27 feet, something like that.
yeah, not very big.
Yep.
So
Similar to what I have. Yep.
so I'm talking to the head painter who's like Scottish, super nice guy. And I said, what is that? He's like, that's going to be in Monterey in August. And I'm like, you got to finish it, put it together, get it on a plane. Like I was sort of befuddled. And so we're talking about it. I go, what is it? And he's like, it's the new roof rodeo. I go, well, we've seen it already. He goes, no, 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 this is the first customer car. And I said, tell me you're painting it roof green. You know, roof has their own green. Like, to me, that should be it. He's like, no, we're painting it black with white wheels, white accents, white door thresholds. You could tell he was visibly kind of bummed. And he's like, this is a special car. This is our we've been pushing this the rodeo for 3 years. It's been at Quail twice. Same car prototype, just painted two different colors. They've been pushing it for so long, and now the first car that's actually production done, tested, going to a customer, in my opinion, and certainly the head painter, the boringest color. And I'm like, well, why did you do that? Why not just tell him no? He's like, the Roof family, they're so sweet, and they truly embody the customer is always right, even though they're frickin' Roof, and they can just imagine Roof says, hey, the first customer car is going to be Roof green, and if you want to have it, get in line. And how many people would raise their hand? But for whatever reason, and I don't know any more about the relationship of who the first owner is, the first owner wanted this. No one at Roof wanted to paint it that color. But because the customer's always right and he's the first one, he gets it black. And tell me that's not the car they wanted sitting at the Quail getting photographed for everything. Black does not photograph worth shit. Won't look good. And the car is truly an amazing car. It's hard to build a safari car that is your own ethos, your own voice, and not just another Me Too like every other safari car. So anyway,
Check the
I just thought it was
interior out
interesting.
on that car, though.
Yeah,
That
thank you.
interior on that car is stellar.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mexican blanket vibe, so cool.
Oh, that
I was
looks like the
blown away.
interior. Those look like the inserts you put on that
Yeah,
hippie car. Yeah.
the boho car that we do,
Yeah.
and I sold that car, by the way, and that car is down in Florida now. But that I just think is the coolest. It's inspired me. That interior, I've got two black, and I'm gonna actually think I'm gonna do one. I'm gonna do a Targa, and I'm gonna do kind of a safari Targa with that sort of interior. Some kind of, you know, American Indian blanket sort of inserts and things like that. I just think that looked just fantastic. I mean, obviously not in the same league as Roof, but that is a pretty stellar interior. Whoever did that interior for, did they do that in house, Paul? I don't
They
even
do
know.
all of it in house.
Yeah,
And
that's
speaking of
gorgeous. I
interior,
really think it's beautiful.
and this is just hearsay, not truth, because I can't actually verify. But when we were there at the factory, the last few of their current edition they sell, the normally aspirated or the turbo one, the C, I forget all the names. There's like two or three in the final assembly. There was a black old Yellowbird in another shop next to it, which is where they do their final upholstery. And they've got four guys scrambling to get the upholstery done. And I asked the guy who's giving us a tour, what's the deal with that car? He says, well, that was an old. It's funny, they won't refer to their Yellowbirds as Yellowbirds. That was an old CTR.
Did you see the one that sold for $5 million or 4.5 million at Gooding? That car was awesome. Just
But that
so
wasn't
cool.
one of the original 19, was it? That was a different thing. That was a
No, I'm
old.
pretty you guys can look it up really quick, but I'm pretty sure it was a yellow bird, just not yellow.
But what I was gonna say is it was painted black. It was originally Irish green. It was in Japan. Guy sent it to get restored to Roof. It got fully restored. Beautiful. While it's there, the guy in Japan sells it to someone else. All he has to do is just pick it up. It's paid for, done, restored. The new guy doesn't like the color scheme, decides to paint it black and do a whole different interior, going back to what we said. And I look at Alois Roof and I'm like, why would you do that? And once again, it's his kindness. It's the customer's always right. And I kind of wonder because they were scrambling to get that car done. That you could like it would they gave us full access to everything. I looked in that room and I could see being in a shop before what frantic busy looks like. There is no way I was going to go in that room. They say, yeah, I can go in there. I'm like, no way. You could see four guys intense on what they were doing because that car was needed to be done 11th hour. They were scrambling to finish the interior. And I kind of wonder, was that the car that fell off the trailer?
Oh, interesting.
Ooh,
I
Well, let
looked
me
at I looked at those pictures. I fortunately I didn't take any pictures
I
in there.
don't think so, Paul, because that car is long. Oh, yeah, it could be. I know what you're saying now. I'm following. So
Ooh.
let me share with you guys another interesting observation. So Singer and a couple of these, I think there's one or two other these high-end resto brand mod companies are now owned. A majority of them are owned by a single hedge fund. Did you guys know that? Investor, hedge fund, whatever you want to call it. Okay, some general partners bought in.
I knew that was Singer, which is how the whole Willow Springs thing's also happening.
And when you ask someone from Singer, which I did, their PR gal, and they'll say to you, they'll say, well, we're still privately owned. Well, I get it, but you're still privately owned by an investor company. And I'm not criticizing investor companies. That's fine. But here's where what I was noticing is there is, if you want to talk about macro trends in the car enthusiast world, there's definitely a trend. And Dave, this is going to serve you perfectly. You should raise your prices after you return my car. So this is a suggestion, not for me, for your
Okay,
next
fair
round of
enough.
customers.
Fair enough. You
Okay.
got it.
All right. So at
You're locked in, Tim.
Quail, and if you look at Koenigsegg, and if you look at Pagani, and if you look at some of the stuff that Ferrari's selling, the market for these bespoke, high-end, highly personalized cars is probably not been seen. Matt Farrow is making this on this point on the smoking tire, and it's really true. You haven't seen anything like this since the 1920s, right? But now you have all these people that I don't know if they've just, oh, I've had that, I've had the other thing, now I want this, or whether or not people are just, migrating towards. There's like a million to Ferrari 550, and there was a guy last year that had this $1 million, of course, Ferrari 355. And I'm looking at some of these cars, and the work that they put into these is just spectacular. But I'm thinking to myself, what the hell's wrong with the 550? You know, I mean, 550 manual versus, why would I want one of these versus that? So there's a lot of people that are willing to spend money to have these personalized experiences. And these manufacturers are being really smart. Singer, again, they're doing these little private events for them. I know Roof does the same thing. So you're not just buying this, again, this is a macro trend. You're not just buying into, you're just a luxury product. You're buying into a lifestyle and a group of friends. At least this is how it's being sold to you. And you can ship your car to this place, this place, this place. And that's what's actually happening. It's kind of a fascinating
I
thing.
mean, the Ferrari Cliente program, wasn't that kind of what it
Well,
was?
the Cliente program was basically for race cars, but this is something completely different. These guys are catering their user experience, their buyer experience on lifestyle, which is, again, a macro trend that we have seen. Maybe like PCA would be an example of that, but now it's being done by the manufacturers, which leads me to my next observation that I made, and then I'm out of observations, is Porsche is definitely going to be selling more limited run, I'll just say it as I think it, marketing focused cars. More stripes, more numbered things, more different colored this, more this, that, and the other. And that's where they're going to absolutely migrate towards. So there's going to be an influx of all of these. Oh, I understand you have a here, Dave, this is for you since you have one coming. You might have a GT3 RS, but do you have the GT3 RS S? That's what you're going to start seeing.
Well, the Manthey edition.
Sure.
Well,
That's
but even more than that, because Ferrari is, I'm sorry, Ferrari has led the way, showing the outer reaches in which customers are willing to suffer financially and, time and aggravation wise to get a really special car. Porsche is going to copy them, especially considering that Porsche is hard. If you believe the headlines, they're hard up for money right now. So what do you guys think of that?
oh,
Well, here's my contribution to that lifestyle play here behind me. I'm way ahead of the trend here, Tim, because I am opening. This is what else I did in cars this week, which is build what we are affectionately calling Targa Bar. And that is the fabulous event space that we have here on our property that's underneath our new awning. So we will be able to host clients and events and all that sort of stuff. Not probably quite as fancy as the Ferrari people, but this is it's the Sunderworks version. So yes, I completely agree with that it's all about the experience. I've been kind of disappointed, to be frank, about the way Porsche has handled my purchase. I haven't heard a peep. Car's supposed to be being built as we speak, and I'm not gotten any little teasers, trinkets,
You will.
anything that suggests
You'll get, I mean, Ferrari does that. All Italian brands do that the best. They
they
love
do,
to give, they
without a
love to give
question.
gifts, and they're
Yep.
really nice gifts too.
And Dave, do you feel? I heard on one podcast that I think it might have been Matt Ferris. The GT3 RS is now the Porsche version of the Lamborghini Huracan.
100% true statement. And I told you guys when we went to Moda Miami in January or whatever it was, to the RM auction, the guys that were droves of GT3 RSs being driven by guys who should have been driving Lamborghinis, the whole, what I'm saying, a completely different buyer.
The
That's the vibe
Lambros.
shift.
No, it can't be the Lambro car. No,
No, it is sorry.
please, no, not
You're
when
gonna
I'm getting mine.
you're gonna have to get your, all the things. You're gonna have to
Gotta get
start,
my gold chains and my tight fitting t-shirt and the whole 9 yards. Holy
but
shit, I
the
gotta go to the gym.
but what
I'm gonna
Matt
start going to
said
the gym.
what Matt said was my observation too. The GT3 RS, which is, I don't even know what the hell those guys are thinking that's a flash car, but it's definitely the new, I'm going to use the word, I'll say it in its original French, poseur car that is being attracted, this sort of, the throngs of influencer types are really gravitating towards, which
What
is
about
bizarre to me because that's about as, that thing's crazy looking, but
it's
anyway.
Not
not?
crazy.
It
It's
has.
not as
Did
crazy
you
as some of the
see?
other stuff.
What about? Do you see a lot of STs being driven around?
There were a lot of STs, but most of them were on display.
Okay, not driven, street driven like the GT3 RSs.
Probably one or two. And, which this aspect I loved about them, nobody looked at them, but the GT3 RS guys were doing the McLaren thing from a couple of years ago. I don't know if you went, when the McLaren guys were the ones causing all the accidents and and
Yeah.
now before it was the Lambo guys and then the Lambo Ferrari guys, or it was never Ferrari guys. And now it's the Porsche guys. The Porsche guys, you could hear them because we were in Carmel by the Sea and you could hear these guys revving their, as fast and furious, at Neiman Marcus.
Stuttgart style. Um, well, it's hopefully next year. I still want to go again because I went every year from 98 to 2019. So over 20 years, and then pandemic, and then I went again in 22 and 21 and 22. Did not go 23, 24, and obviously 25. Um, 23 was a friend's wedding, and yet last year I just didn't have I don't know, wasn't motivated. This year, not just because I'm in the hospital, but I was motivated because I saw things like the Overcrest and some of the things that my Driving While Awesome buddies were doing and the Radwood guys. And I've always come up with a way to do Monterey on a budget, in a sense that also I want to be not around people, avoid the crowds. It gets hard, but I think there's a way to do it. So hopefully next year I can go and we can even have a pre-Monterey show of like, sort of like the Fodder's Guide, like, Monterey on $20 a day kind of thing.
That'd be awesome. But
Love it.
yeah, well, there were more people there. There were more events going on, ones that were on What's Up Monterey, the ones that everyone knows about, and more private events. There were more VIP things, more and more and more and more and more. That's what it was. Everywhere you went, like I said, there was a discernible shift away from even last year, where it felt way more car nerdy, and now there are more conversations about just, I don't know what to say it other than fashion trend. I mean, look what Ferrari's done with Lewis Hamilton, and he's, why did they hire him? Why did they pay him $100 million a year? Because he's arguably one of the most influential people, especially in Europe, in the world. And they wanted to ride that wave. A lot of that is what I felt at Monterey. And hopefully I'm not sounding negative because we
No, no,
love to
no.
go
And
every
then,
year.
I mean, funny thing with Ferrari, that's pretty smart because Lewis Hamilton always has kind of a style edge, and Ferrari makes, what is it, most of their money from apparel and branding items than they do.
Well, I mean, they make the
We
most.
know Tim saw some good Ferrari outfits there in Monterey for
I
sure.
know I was putting those on Instagram, but I didn't want, I was worried about offending somebody, but some of them were just too funny not to
No,
post.
please offend. The number I reposted your thing with the guy who obviously owned the car you were looking at,
Oh
the
yeah.
car. The comments were gold. So many people enjoyed that one post, and I was like, "Come on, Tim, this is what I need from you."
Oh, I had a lot like that, but honestly, I haven't posted them, but I will post them because I'm not a negative person, but just the sights and sounds were just kind of foreign to me this year. It's just a strange.
Send them to me. I'm a negative person. I have no problem.
I'll send them to you. I'll put them in a Dropbox and send you the link. I have hundreds because
How come we haven't heard?
What
How
Julie
come
and I
we
were
haven't
doing
heard
was we were
about
making.
this?
Go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I apologize. I just wanted. I figured this was going to be your lead subject here. This Corvette. This Corvette CXR.
Okay, well, I'm gonna talk about that just to piss Paul off. But Julie and I got to the point where I love the Porsche events. I love the historics. I love the Pebble Beach was the best ever. Pebble Beach, the event, I thought Pebble Beach was so nice. Um, Even though they too are trying to cash in. When you bought your ridiculously expensive ticket in the past, they gave you a poster, and now the poster was $50. So that was a little bit, I don't know what that's all about. But yeah, other than that, it's worth going to. But what I'm trying to explain to you guys is that when you go there, expect what I'm saying. And there's so much less of what we have come to expect from the big, Monterey Car Week, and so much more of this new thing. So if you're not in alignment with the new thing, you're going to feel like a fish out of water. So, but what we ended up doing is going around taking videos and pictures of all the things that made us laugh. That were, with a sarcastic bent. So I'll share all those with you. Yes. So
Perfect.
let's go back to and talk about the quail. Okay, you know what? You teamed me up perfectly, Dave. I was listening
What I'm here
to,
for.
thank you. I was listening to Chris Harris's podcast this morning. There you go.
I thought you were
Okay.
talking about Corvettes. I just wanted to not be
Okay.
affiliated.
Well, no, I was listening to, and they had an interesting, I'm going to loop this. You guys will like this. So they were talking about whether the European car industry was dead. Is it a dead industry? Because essentially what's happened with the EV mandates, even though some of those are being rolled back, these manufacturers are now suffering from tariff problems. Porsche's biggest market for what, 2 or 3 years was China. Now sales there are off. And so Chris was saying, is it possible that the European car market is dead? And I was thinking a lot about that, and it is entirely possible. But here's leading to Dave's observation about Corvette. If you look at who the winners are going to be because of the change in the with tariffs and whatnot, it could very well be that we're going to see a resurgence of U.S. domestic manufacturers like we've never seen before, because some of these other manufacturers are frankly not able to be competitive. And so Corvette is a perfect example. The cars that they made, that they're making now with the new ZR1 and ZR1X, had every right to be on the show field at the Quail. And those cars were arguably, even though the people with their noses up in the air were trying to walk right past them, those cars stood tall, especially the two, let's call them show cars that they had. Those cars were as cool as anything that was coming from Pagani for $4 million. And I felt some nationalistic pride when I walked past and I looked at the products that they're making. And those guys are going to produce something, and they're going to be able to sell them for less price than everybody else. And let's discuss. Paul, you first.
Okay. So do I, I don't really want to talk about the Corvette. No, I really don't know much about them. And it's nothing to do with the product. They've always made a good product that was, like they've said, democratized sports car ownership. Um, I would say I'm more impressed with, I would say Mustang, the GTD product, because I think for me, I just like visually the looks of it. I like the ethos of it a bit better. Um, I don't know with Corvette. On paper, it does all the things right. I'm sure it drives great. It's got the mag ride. It does everything. I just hate the looks. That's my only problem. I just
Oh,
But be honest, you're more
man.
biased by the legacy of the brand. You're more biased
Oh
by
no,
that.
there, yeah, that's undeniable. I can't get the legacy of the brand out.
Yeah.
Plus, I can't.
I'll tell you that
And don't
CX.
forget, my wife hates Corvettes so
But the new,
passionately that I hear her on the other shoulder. You get one of those, it's it. You can have your
I don't
whole
know
hip
that one
replaced, your
concept
pelvis
car.
replaced, but you're not coming home in a Corvette.
The car
Go ahead, Dave.
behind me though was just stunning. I mean,
It was.
I was blown away by that car when I saw the pictures. I mean, I grabbed the bad picture of this car, but I thought that car was a showstopper. I really was like, wow, it'll never make production like that, of course,
The
but
other
it
one
was
will, though. Did you see the other one that didn't have the
is
pop-up
it silver
canopy?
one? I'm
Yeah.
kind of looking at some of those pictures right now, but I
But
just thought that was it wasn't overdone like this particular orange car that I've got the picture of where that whole clamshell lifts up and you got in it. It just didn't feel overdone to me like some of the current Corvettes. It didn't have as much crazy, arrows bolted onto the side and stuff. And what was there just looked really purposeful. But that was a gorgeous car. I didn't spend as much time looking at the silver one with the red interior, but um, this one I was really blown away by.
So the younger generation, Paul, and I know you won't care about this because they're, not your, you're an old fart basically, but
Well,
the
no,
younger,
I'm putting up. This is what was at the Quail, right?
yes,
Yeah, yeah, those two.
the
Okay.
younger generation, when I was talking with them, and I'll say younger being less than say 35, they do not have any of the bias that we do about, and I have it too, about Corvettes at all, especially the C8. Those guys were not, they had none of the brand legacy of the hairy chested gold chain wearing, whatever, whatever. That's not part of their world.
No,
So
no, you're talking about New Balance jorts, denim shorts. That's
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. But going
On
forward,
weekends though.
but going forward, again, my observation is I think that Corvette is going to find a ready audience, especially as these imported prestige brand sports car lifestyle things become really ridiculously expensive. I think Corvette's going to have an explosive amount of growth, especially if they make that silver car.
what about just being a devil's advocate? Because those products are going to become so expensive through tariffs, et cetera, and no one's going to be, only a few are going to buy them. Will it thwart competition in terms of them making they don't have to make a product that's that competitive because they've got a ready-made audience just due to price disparity?
That's a really interesting question, and I really don't know. I don't know. I hope not. But I'll go as far as to say this. You guys know that Corvette's back, or I'm sorry, Cadillac's back in Formula One, right?
Yeah,
And this is basically in your backyard. No, they're out of a Speedway, Indianapolis, aren't they? Isn't that where they're starting their team? I'm pretty sure.
I have no idea.
And
I don't know.
We know that Formula One is owned by a basically American conglomerate. So I'll suggest that what we're going to see is we're going to see a resurgence of, and I'm not an American car guy. I'm not. We're going to see a resurgence of specifically Cadillac and Corvette, and it's going to ride on the coattails of what they're going to start doing, not just in the sports car series racing, but also in Formula One. That's what I'm picking up. That's going to actually happen. The Cadillac, they had a huge tent and everything at Pebble Beach. Guys, have you heard about that new, what is it, that Blackwing CTS V5 or whatever it is? Julie and I poked over one of those cars. There's no way that you could tell me anything from
No,
Europe.
I love that car. The
That car,
Blackwing. Yeah, yeah.
oh yes.
I love
But
that car.
Paul, the paint on the thing, the panel fit on that thing, all the just different touch points in the car, everywhere you put your hands, everything was spectacular. And then you get into the mechanics of it.
Yeah. No, you don't understand. It's not that I don't like domestic cars. I just don't like Corvettes. And I'm looking, so I'm looking at this picture at the Quail. The one he's standing by, that is a really cool car. That
Yep.
won't be in production. Whatever ends
Why
up,
wouldn't it be?
I just don't think it'll end up. I think from production costs, DOT, NHTISA, NHTSA, all the different things involved, I just don't think it could be that cool. If it is, awesome. I'll Daniel Ricciardo and drink for my shoe. But I don't think that's the case. Now, I can't really see a good picture of the car on the left. Is that which one is that? ZR1?
That's a ZR1X, which then that is the Quail edition that had matte silver paint and beautiful car again. And those cars I think were like $250,000. And for what I was told, they were all sold. All the Quail Edition ones were sold at the event and probably sold before the event. And so there you go. That's what that was. Oh, by the way, I know you're going to say you don't care, but I know you secretly do. That car has 1,250 horsepower and was $250,000. And the build quality was, again, from my observation, and I am a finicky son of a bitch when it comes to this stuff, was just as good as anything from Europe.
Understand. But that being said, I just found the picture. The picture I pulled up for you for our last conversation of it was the first picture I removed from my catalog, but I'll put it back up again. I'm sorry. And this is why there's different cars for different people. That does nothing for me. That is so busy with so many flutes and flares and fins and relief lines and hard edges. I If this had a Porsche badge on it, I still wouldn't like it. I promise you.
Do you realize the irony of someone who drives a 1960s 911, a green Rally 911, that looks like it should be driven by Oscar the Grouch, being, being overly critical of a design.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
Do you realize
Because
the irony of you in particular being so overly critical of a modern car design?
I
I
never
mean, I
said
love it.
I never said I wasn't ironic. I just like what I like. And my green rally car, which by the way, that was a decade ago. It looks fantastic. It is so beat to hell now. Plus, I haven't washed it since 2019. Okay, maybe if you took and put a roof rack on that Corvette and drove it 350,000 miles, maybe I'd like it. You're right. Maybe I would like the fact that it was beat to shit.
Dave,
But
balance out this conversation. Help me prove that Paul's completely wrong. He's just becoming an old fuddy-duddy.
I couldn't agree more in terms of all the hard angles and the different color bits and bobs and the the stuff that probably has purpose, but it fits much more into the McLaren,
Well, that's
Lambo.
their buyer. That you guys
Yeah,
are
I
making
get
my
it.
point.
I get
Yep.
that, but that's not me. That's not Paul. I mean, I think we maybe like ours a little more subtle, a little more rounded. These hard
yes.
edges and stuff just don't appeal. It appeals to a certain type of US buyer for sure.
No, I think
Um,
that that car is going to appeal to a global buyer. And you said it correctly, in my opinion. The McLaren, the Lambo guy. I mean, do you guys like the designs of the new Lamborghinis? If you do, you're probably only two people on planet Earth. I'm going to get so much shit for saying that, but it's true. Okay. Everyone in person bashes those things. And when you read about it in magazines or hear about it on YouTube, everyone thinks they're the greatest thing ever. Okay. No. Okay. So that car is going to appeal to those buyers, but a younger set. And it's in the conversations I was having where people were younger guys who did not grow up on European aristocracy type cars like all three of us did are now looking at these vets and they're saying, why not? And that I think is pretty awesome.
yeah, I don't
I mean,
disagree.
hey, I'm all for American company making a great product that does really well. And hopefully we'll have, I mean, the sad thing is there's not a lot of American companies left standing. They're going to build competitive products. So you're going to have this and the Ford GTD. I mean, like those are the only, and then the Cadillac Blackwing, which is kind of tied into the Corvette, which I love. I do love the Blackwing. And if in 5 years they're half the price they are now, that would be something I would consider as a daily driver that I don't need.
Do you know what, have you priced one of those things before, those black wings? Have either one of you, Dave, have you done that?
No, I've not.
I've looked at them just used. I've just
Pop over and look at go to GM site. A whole duded up one with all the doodads is 130 grand.
yeah, yeah. I was to say
And you
120,
can get
130 grand.
you can get a manual transmission, and I think those things have 700 horsepower.
Oh yeah.
Starts at
Compared
97.6 is what it says
but
here on their
compared to
website.
the
Yep.
97.6.
the M5, the competitive product, the M5, which there's a bunch of testing, great videos and tons of stuff on that. The M5 is 20 grand more, I think, 25 grand more, whatever. No, I think, in my opinion, the Blackwing's a great product. I I don't know. I feel sad because I don't think Cadillac is going to draw enough buyers to keep that product alive for very long. And it will do well like the CTSV manual wagon. That car will have legs in the used market. It'll be like sell at MSRP or within 20% of MSRP forever, which makes me sad because I do like that car. I think the Corvette will do what all the other Corvettes do. And I always equate Corvettes to kind of fruit stripe chewing gum. You've ever had the fruit stripe chewing gum or Wrigley's? Like
Of course.
yeah, it's this
Tastes good for a
jolt of
minute.
sugar. It's this jolt of sugar, and it's like, wow, this is great. And then next, thing you know, it just becomes this thing you're chewing on. And
Okay,
Corvettes
so
come out.
stop there.
Yeah.
Stop there. So what you tell me in modern supercar, sports car, hyper, blah, 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 where the sensation's not the same. And then you cannot say
Oh
a
no,
manual.
Lamborghini for sure.
Okay,
Lamborghini for
Lamborghini,
sure.
McLaren. I mean,
McLaren for sure.
how many times can you get into those things, make yourself as a driver feel like you want to barf until you've had the whole experience? Have you guys driven like a Tesla model, a plaid version of a Tesla? Have you ever driven one of
I have
those?
not.
No,
Nope.
Okay,
no.
go ahead.
I've been in one, and I've been in the fanciest Taycan, at Pecla for a lap, and yeah, it's a one trick pony. It's just this
It's a
crazy.
puke inducer. As a driver, I mean, that was the funny thing when people were driving those ZR1s at Coda, the drivers were getting out wanting to barf.
Yeah. So going back to the Corvette, I'm glad it exists, and they will sell them, and they will do well, and they will always have an audience. Um, Ironically, I think this car, like you said, would do really well in Europe because I think the
It
Europeans love
will.
these things. but I don't think it will. I think it'll get taxed to hell, and it'll make it really hard to have this car in Europe.
Okay, so if I
What's
mention the
the,
word tariffs, then people are going to accuse me of being political. But the reality of it is that a lot of new tariff agreements, especially with the EU, outside of some of the hanger-oner countries, is going to make it so those cars are going to sell there. And the
Yeah.
reason that American cars haven't been selling in Europe, do your own homework on this before you send me any hate comments, is because the EU companies or EU countries have been tariffing the crap out of American products, and that's the reason you don't see them there. And I'll suggest to you that because of this new tariff regime, you're going to see, are you okay, Paul?
Yeah, I just thought someone was coming in, which they're welcome to.
You're going to see American cars all over Europe, and I don't see why that wouldn't happen, especially because they'll be able to be sold for less money. And there is amongst, like when we were in Italy, you saw Chargers and things like that were rolling around that
Come on
the
in.
Italians loved. Hey Dave, what are you thinking?
time for the catheter change?
No,
Apparently, I don't
she
know.
she came in for drugs, and so she brought in Tylenol, and I'm like, you can come back for that. I was checking to see which drugs were coming.
Paul wants to talk about a
What are the
Citroen.
what are the production numbers on the ZR1X?
Oh, I'm sure it's going to be as many as they can sell.
Well,
Hell yeah.
but that's part of the reason, right? I mean, that's part of the reason that there's not an exclusivity to them that you do find with the rest of these
But how
these
much,
brands.
what I'm trying to understand, and Dave help me with this, okay? Is that how much are these luxury products anymore being sold off what you just said? Exclusivity. Oh, we're only going to make so many of these things. Oh, it's numbered. But the product itself is the same, if not inferior to something that's mass produced. And so that means that me as a buyer, I'm just sort of a dope that's buying into this idea that something that somebody else can't get is somehow more special.
But
That
That's
makes me dumb.
but no,
that
here's the
is
thing
just
is, I mean,
life. That's life
this
in
is
general. I mean,
I
that
mean,
is exactly how we all roll.
this is an economic theory that's existed for centuries called the law of scarcity.
Yeah.
And and we are rats running through the mill, and we will do the things that we are so predictably will do. And if a car manufacturer decides that's what they want to do to take advantage of it, I think with Corvette, they can't. Even if they wanted to, they can't. The economies of scale is what makes that a product that would be maybe
They will though. They'll do limited
600,000.
runs. They'll like they did the Quail edition. That's
Yeah.
what they're going to do.
The
And
Bowling Green edition.
well, I mean, all of those things. I mean, they're going to do the different tennis shoe versions, and they're going to do the one where you get your jean shorts. I mean, all of it. They're going to do all of it.
Short
But
Oh,
edition.
I would love to see a
Denim
denim
interior.
edition, like the Gremlin Levi edition. Do the Corvette, just lean
Yeah.
into it.
okay, so let
The
me
New
pivot. Let
Balance
me
floor
pivot this.
mats.
Let me pivot this to really get under people's skin. How much are European cars overpriced? How much are we just being sold based off brand versus the actual quality of the product?
Oh,
Right?
30% at least.
At least. At least. So we're just all being sold off the idea that by buying this particular product, you're going to be part of this special club and you're going to be seen in this special way. And, I mean, there it is. That's what branding has done. And I think in a lot of ways it's diminished the quality of the products because the manufacturers can lean into their marketing team. And okay, I'll really throw myself in the deep end. I looked intensely at a Ferrari Speciale versus a 296. I have a 296 GTS. I really love the car. I had a spot for a Speciale. I decided not to take the spot. I went to Pebble, Casa di Ferrari, looked at the Speciale, and I'm glad I passed on it because
Yeah.
frankly, I thought the design was funky looking, and I started realizing that car is, again, using the famous French word, it's a poser car. It's not like the Porsche GT3 RS where the part numbers are the same from the street car to the car that's sold for motorsports use. Those cars, the parts are literally transferable. Ferrari's not doing that. They're making gussied up marketing versions of their street cars and selling them for extraordinary amounts of money. And I just think it's kind of amazing. That's basically all I have to say about that.
Yeah. I don't think you're not wrong. You're definitely not wrong. And I have not been in the position to order something like that. If I was in the position to, I don't know. I mean, it's never something that's interested me. I mean, the newest thing I drive is a 2004. Like, and it's not because I don't like anything newer, and I'm starting to warm up. I find that the newer stuff to me is the way you'd use it where I would live you could be a name your luxury thing. And the moments you get to a place where you can use it the way it's supposed to be, it's way too freaking fast and competent. And I've been in those cars. I've taken a McLaren up to Good Vibes on Friday. And the entire time, I wish I was in my old 911, you know?
Well, let me ask Dave about this because Dave lives is literally his Sunderworks is old gorgeous 911s and everywhere you look. I mean, you have got to go to his shop, Paul. You will be blown away. I'm
I
telling
look
you,
forward to it.
it's extraordinary. All right, so he wants a GT3 RS. That's what he's getting. All right, so you help us understand that bridge, and which I personally understand and appreciate. But I want you to explain that. So you live and breathe old 911s, and yet you want a new one. Why?
Different experience, right? I love the old ones. I mean, that's my preference. I mean, I've had newer Porsches, 991s, and to me, I'm a loyalist to this brand and the heritage of the car and the latest and greatest tech, and the fact that that styling still carries through and that it is still
Have you
tied
driven one?
to. I have not driven one yet. I've
Okay.
driven not a 99. I've not driven a 992 dot one. I've driven the 991.2 GT3 RS. Fine car. I mean, I wasn't driving it in anger. I wasn't driving it hard. I mean, I was really probably just kind of tooling around in it. But I look forward. To me, it's an expedition. It's an experience. It's a checkbox item for someone of a certain age that happens to have the means to be able to pull the trigger. And because it's a car that I don't feel like is going to lose 30% of its value the minute I buy it, it felt like a low risk opportunity. If it's presented, you can't get it. It's presented to me. I wanted to have it. That's really what it boils down to. I don't
It'll be interesting.
anticipate that I'm going to fall in love with this car as anything even remotely resembling a daily driver or something that I would fool around in all the time. It's going to get driven to events and cars and coffees and things like that, but it's not going to be a high driving car for
It'll be
me.
all over your Instagram hand. You'll have the
Of course.
freaking. You'll be wearing the
No, I won't.
clothes.
I won't. I guarantee I will not have the QR code in my side windows. I
Oh,
can absolutely guarantee
hey
that.
Paul, I'll bet you $100 he has that before he even takes
No,
delivery. The window sticker is
absolutely
still
not.
on the car.
Yeah, yeah, he will.
I mean,
In
does that
fact,
make sense
I
though,
might
guys?
just, I might have to do some reconnaissance, find someone that works, and I'll have it printed off. I'll send it to them, and they'll just put it on there for him. And he'll
Hashtag
Yeah,
go,
support.
and then it was a joke. They put it on there, but it'll stay.
it's gonna only link though to
It'll
some
totally stay.
compromising picture of you, Paul. The minute that they hit it,
Oh,
it's gonna
I
link to
hope
some
so.
compromising
It-
picture of you.
Not that this is going to sadden you guys, but I in a wheelchair can't reach my charge cord, and I've got like 14% left on computer battery. So do with it
Let's
Oh,
as you
okay.
wrap.
Well,
will.
we got to be wrapping up here pretty soon anyway, I would
Yeah.
imagine, right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I enjoyed this conversation today. Hopefully you guys are, hopefully we don't get too many arrows thrown our way for our over truthiness. And I'm glad you guys rolled with it too and weren't trying to be politically correct and trying not to, worry about ruffling feathers. And I'll just say in conclusion with regards to Monterey Car Week, it's definitely something you have to do at least once. And if it wasn't for the fact that Julie and I started out with it's almost our anniversary month, and that's a big part of the reason that we go. Frankly, I probably wouldn't go again if it wasn't for that. We'd love to go to Big Sur, and it's just so gorgeous there, especially before the tourists arrive. Yeah, but other than that, it's definitely something you want to experience at least once. I'm really looking forward to my first looping book. How do you pronounce it?
Luftgekühlt.
Luftgekühlt.
Luft.
Luftgekühlt.
Okay, which I guess Julie looked that up and it means air cooled in German. Okay, so
That's
there's
correct.
that. But I bet you that's the vibe that used to be in during Car Week that now all those thousands. Oh, I didn't tell you guys. Again, eavesdropping on conversations I probably shouldn't have been eavesdropping on. That's what I do. They had sold 4,000 tickets to the one in your town, Dave.
Yeah.
4,000. Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if it's attendees or if it's attendees with cars, but it's going to be extraordinary.
Kind of all the same, right? I mean, you got to buy the ticket before your car gets picked. So basically you buy a ticket, not an expensive ticket at all. It's like 35, $45.
Yours is only
No,
And
35,
then,
$40.
yeah, that's all it was. It's
Oh,
literally
they complain because Universal Studio was, I want to say 150.
I bet. But
how
this
many
is
people were
it,
there?
10,000.
a
Sorry,
lot.
10,000.
Oh my God. Seriously? Now, see, that's where that's the difference between Porsche and every other brand, right? Frickin' there. I mean,
And
that
they
is
and they
a
only and they would have sold more, but that was as much as they were allowed. And I was with a friend who worked in that industry, and they had to close. People don't understand. They used maybe about a third of the back lot. They had to basically close the entire back lot. So
that's incredible.
So they couldn't
See,
use Universal Studios backlot that people flew in from Omaha to go see on that Saturday and the Friday and the Thursday for the entire thing. It would have been it had to have been millions of dollars to secure that
So
backlot.
if I were placing bets based on my overall experience at Monterey, here's what I would bet. I bet you Porsche as a brand goes to a level that we can't even imagine. And just think about what these guys, 10,000 Porsche enthusiasts. And I think all the other brands, because there's an oversaturation with all these hypercar, supercar, carbon fiber tinted colored, blah, 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 blah. There's an oversaturation of that. And I think that the Koenigsegg and Pagani and all these other small manufacturers, there's too many of them.
Uh-oh.
Wow.
Get off the iPad, Grandma.
Is a great. Oh, you froze up, but no, the rant you were going on was exactly what I expressed too, and I think, and I was trying to think about it. There's only one other brand that has such a diehard bleed, do everything for you, that people will literally tattoo that brand on them, that exists, and that's Harley Davidson.
Yep.
Used to be Harley Davidson. I don't think it's that way anymore. I think a
Probably
lot of
not.
the Harley Davidson people were the baby boomers, and it's not like it was.
Yeah, you're right.
But that's a good example. I think Porsche has done something that's truly spectacular, appealing, making their old cars appeal to younger people, and that is truly, truly special. And
Yep.
that's my observation, and I'm really looking forward to seeing Dave and Charlotte in in October, and hopefully our little
Yep.
blue car is done by
Yeah.
then. I'm sure it will
And it's
be.
going to be ready for you, Tim. Don't worry. It's going to be ready.
Thanks.
I'm not worried at all. Hey,
And
you
yeah,
feel
thank you.
better. Go take
Thank
your
you.
Tylenol, and we look forward to seeing you on the road again.
Tylenol. All right, guys.
Extra strength, Tylenol,
Extra
extra
strength.
strength.
All
Awesome.
right.
See
Thank you, guys. Miss you.
All
you
right.
later.
See you guys.
All right. Bye.